we're talking about Dune. I'm going to strip my bookshelf for this conversation. Don't worry, it's not going to be too long. But, all right. Dune. Right. I'm going to put these in order of my preference of the story, like basically my preference of the books. But before that, what I want to do is have a quick little chat about a few things about what Dune is. And then we're going to watch the trailer. So first off, Dune is without question science fiction, but there is a debate about science fantasy. Now, it's very much a science fiction story written in a fantasy style. The reason I've never done like a deep dive science video on it is because it's more fantasy than it is fiction in terms of science fiction. But let's just talk briefly about what the story of Dune is, because now that the trailer for the third movie has come out, we are back to the world of people being confused about what the story of Dune is. Now, there are plenty of people who have a much deeper knowledge and understanding of this writing and what went on in this story. So this is not a comprehensive discussion, but we're just going to say we're starting with the first book. Now, I'm going to admit something to you guys. When I first read this book years ago, I thought it was a standalone book. And that's the reason I read it, because I'd read like a bunch of series and I was like, God, I really just need a break from series and I just need something I can just read and finish. So I read Dune. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy that I read that and that's done and great. I enjoyed it and I didn't understand a lot of it, but I really enjoyed it. And then I found out that, oh no, there's 6 books in the series written by Herbert and there's like 23 or 26 books in the series entirely, because books are written by his son Brian as well. So yeah, I completed my set of 6 books. I will not be reading the extended universe written by Brian Herbert. I am sorry, I will not be doing that. I am not interested in doing that, even though I love this story and 1 or 2 other ones here we'll get to in a minute. But there's a lot of confusion yet again about whether Paul is a good guy or a bad guy. People seem to think that in the first and the second movie that Denis Villeneuve made, which are excellent. Denis Villeneuve is probably my favorite director at the moment. Obviously the 2 Dunes and Arrival, but more than anything, I don't know if anyone else could have given us that Blade Runner sequel, 2049, is an incredible depiction. Now, I'm going to talk more about Blade Runner 2049, and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep in an actual deep dive video, because Philip K. Dick is one of my favorite science fiction authors. So, Dune, for those of you who are confused, simply put, the story is that we are 10,000 years into the future-ish, roughly, timeline. Humanity has expanded out. We are in a specific area of the universe. And within this specific area, a lot of humanity is still governed by these old ideas of emperors and high families and councils and all of that. And there are certain people that run certain things. So the guild run the spice trade and the guild navigators handle travel. The Bene Gesserit run genetics and the evolution of humanity through breeding programs within the high family houses. The emperor runs the empire. We don't know what the expansion of that empire is exactly, but we do know that it contains these, planets, and specifically Arrakis. The Fremen are the people who are the indigenous people to Arrakis, and the Atreides are the people who have been moved to Arrakis to take over the... God, I can't remember what it's called. There's like a specific term for it, but they're basically, like, oh, you've got to run the planet and take care of that for a while. It's all a setup. So the main science component in Dune is in 3 places. We have the Bene Gesserit breeding program. Through the Bene Gesserit breeding program, what they are aiming to do is to create the ultimate human, the ultimate leader, the ultimate person who has all of the traits, who has prescience, who has the physical abilities of Bene Gesserits and the understanding and the knowledge that would be the supreme overall leader of the empire. And they call that the Kwisatz Haderach. Jessica is a Bene Gesserit. She is one of the breeders. She is supposed to go to Atreides, to Leto, and have a child with Leto, and it is supposed to be a girl. Because throughout this genetic manipulation of the Bene Gesserit through the, thousands of years that they've been doing this, they, for some reason, somehow have developed the ability to control the gender of the child that they will have. So she is supposed to have a girl. That girl is supposed to then marry Feyd-Rautha, the son or the nephew of the Harkonnens, and then their child is supposed to be the Kwisatz Haderach. Jessica goes against the wishes of the Bene Gesserit because she falls in love with Leto. Now, to the Bene Gesserit, the biggest flaw that you can have as a person is to feel love. The Bene Gesserit, throughout the entire story of Dune, do not think that love is worthwhile or valuable or useful. So Jessica gives Leto a son because that's what he would want as his heir. Very old school high family fantasy, right? So the Bene Gesserit are super pissed at Jessica because she's messed up this thousands of years of a genetic line leading to this Kwisatz Haderach. So they set up Leto by getting the Emperor to send him to Arrakis and then allowing the Harkonnens to invade using the Emperor's Sardaukar, and they kill Leto. Jessica and Paul escape, Paul being the son. So Jessica is doing everything that she is doing out of love. Jessica loves Paul, she wants to protect him, and the best way that she knows how is she reckons if she can convince the Fremen that Paul is the Kwisatz Haderach, because, the Bene Gesserit have been feeding that line of religious hype of this prophecy for millennia into Arrakis. So Jessica's like, if she can convince the Fremen that Paul actually is the Kwisatz Haderach, which is what the Fremen call Lisan al-Gaib, then if she can convince them of that, then the Bene Gesserit can't do anything against him because he will rise up and he will have the backing and he can then take revenge on the Harkonnens for Leto's death. Because they're the two things that Jessica goes by, the love and the protection of Paul and revenge for what they did to Leto. Because she absolutely, without question, wants them to pay. Sorry, this is very long-winded, but the point I'm trying to get to is that all of that setup sets up Paul as this savior, as this, prophetic, I will become a leader, I will be this noble leader, and I will protect everyone against the vile Harkonnens and against the Emperor, and I will avenge my father's death. Now, Paul's transition with the Fremen is into Usul. That's the name that he takes. It's the Fremen name that he takes. So he's known within the Fremen as Usul and Muad'Dib. They're his names within the Fremen culture, and he falls in love with Chani, and he develops all of this relationship with the Fremen. Now, there was a pretty big problem when Frank Herbert first wrote this book, because a lot of people did misunderstand his intentions with Paul, and it made it seem like maybe he was supposed to be a good guy. You could interpret it that way if you kind of read it at a surface level. So, because of that, he ended up having to write Dune Messiah. This is what Dune 3 is based on. Now, Dune Messiah was basically Herbert's way of just saying, all right, I will smash it over your heads, guys. And people have said that the first two movies didn't do a good enough job of highlighting Herbert's original idea and showing Paul as being really a villain, like the false savior, the religious leader, and basically just kind of leading the Fremen into the same system as what has always existed, where it's just the Atreides just take over from the Harkonnens, basically, because Paul is supposed to be noble. Now, I argue against this because of one specific point that happens specifically in part 2. So I think in part 1, you are supposed to see him as having the potential to be the good guy. By the end of part one, you're supposed to be thinking Paul will be a savior of some sort, or Paul will do something good. By the end of part two, you should know without question, oh damn, this is not good. And the reason I say this is because Paul spends all of this time with the Fremen, developing underneath them, learning their ways, becoming a part of their culture, falling in love with Chani, making friendships, proving himself to be worthy, taking the name Usul, taking the name Muad'Dib, becoming a part of who they are, and constantly talking about how he doesn't want to change them. He doesn't want to do anything to disrupt them. He wants to protect them. But he's seeing these prescient visions, and he's seeing these futures, and he's seeing this jihad that will be in his name. The reason that we should all know that Paul is not the good guy is because the moment he stands up in front of the Fremen, the moment he goes into that hall and he stands there and he gets the Fremen to all rise up and to join him, he doesn't call himself Muad'Dib. He doesn't call himself Usul. I can't remember if he calls himself Lisan al-Gaib. He might at some point, but he stands there and he says, I am Paul Atreides, and he puts the Atreides ring on his finger. And in that moment, it should be clear to everyone that nothing has changed. He is still a member of the high families. He is still a lord. He is still a member of the empire, and he is going to use the Fremen to avenge his father's death, because that's all he actually cares about. He wants to take revenge against the Harkonnens, and he has found his army that will allow him to do that. That's what Paul chooses to do in that moment, and he lets everyone know, I am Paul Atreides. He doesn't stand up there and say, I am Muad'Dib, I am Lisan al-Gaib, I am yours, I am part of you. No, he is, I am Paul Atreides, and he puts the signet ring back on his hand. That's my argument. People can disagree with me. People can think maybe the movie did a better job, maybe it didn't do as good a job, but I kind of feel like in that moment, it was very, very clear by the very end. Also, they kind of made it so that Chani had a more visceral reaction to what was going on with Paul, which is kind of Chani supposed to be us. You know, we as the audience should be Chani. We should be the ones looking at what's going on, seeing the transition, seeing the change, and having that revulsion that she has, because she's not feeding into the fever of the rest of the people the way that Stilgar is. Like, Stilgar's in the fever. Javier Bardem was amazing as Stilgar. Anyway, that is Dune, and we're going to see Messiah, which is basically just like what he did to be like, all right, I'll make it clearer for you guys if it's not that obvious. If you wanted to read the books before they come out, before the movie comes out, and you've already seen the first two movies, you don't even need to read the first book. I mean, obviously do. It's an incredible book. I fully recommend anyone reading this book. But if you're just like, I just want to kind of catch up on the story before it comes out, then you only need to read Dune Messiah, which is a fairly small book. It's a fairly nice, easy read. If you feel inclined to continue on, the next book is Children of Dune. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I wish I had never read this book. This book haunts me. I am so uncomfortable with this book, but I just found out, because I did not know this, I don't know if you know this, there is a mini series that they made back in the early 2000s of Children of Dune, where James McAvoy plays Leto II. Guys, hello? Don't know. I kind of want to watch it. I think it's only 3 episodes, so I mean, I will watch it, but like, holy crap. I'm very uncomfortable with many things of the way that Children of Dune are written. God Emperor. God Emperor is the one that everyone says is like the batshit one, where it just goes completely off the rails. It's completely wild and crazy, and it's like, what the hell is happening? But then a lot of people have said that the first time they read it, they thought that, and now it's like their favorite book. I didn't like hate it. I just found it dull. I think I found like maybe the last third of it a bit more interesting, about kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, but it's more just like a philosophical, it's just like Herbert's thoughts and ideas about the world this university is created, or humanity, or how we interact, how we evolve, stuff like that. So if you have a very philosophical ilk, maybe you'll really like it. I did not really like that at all. Heretics of Dune is my favorite of all the books, I think, maybe next to the first Dune, to actual Dune. Heretics is my favorite. I love this book. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And then Chapterhouse is okay. I enjoyed it. Like, it was fine. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I'm going to need someone in the comments to help me out with this. I have no freaking idea what the hell happened at the end of this book. I do not understand the ending of this book. I do not understand what the intention was. I do not understand where the story was going with, like, I mean, it's obviously open-ended to a certain degree, but like, what was the point? What was the point? I kind of know what the point of what... I kind of know what the point was in the end with, like, the Bene Gesserit, the Reverend Mothers, and the Honored Matras, and all that kind of stuff, and what was happening at Chapterhouse. But I don't understand really anything that they were saying about what the scattering was supposed to mean or imply, or where it was going with the characters that left to go and join the scatter. Like, I found it very confusing. I felt like there was a lot of stuff left open that wasn't really open in a way that it was like, oh, that's, you know, curious and nice, and you can imagine what would happen next. It was left open in a way that I felt like, no, I'd like the answers to these questions. I'm confused. So I might need someone in the comments to explain Dune to me. I don't want to ruin any of my nerd cred here, but like, this is the thing. I saw somebody recently did like this list of how to read Dune, or like, no, sorry. Somebody did this list recently where they were talking about different sci-fi books, recommendations for, in terms of like easy, medium, and hard sci-fi to read. And they put Dune in medium. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Now, to be fair, because it's written in very much a fantasy like style, with the different houses and the different rules and, you know, the different worlds and stuff like that, you have to get used to a lot of terminology in order to really kind of figure out what was going on. Oh yeah, that's the thing that I didn't understand about this, the axolotl tanks. What the hell was going on with the axolotl tanks? Can anyone explain what that was in the end? There was some allusions to the axolotl tanks, but I don't fully understand. Are they just all clones or something? Is that what it was? All right, in order of favorites, Dune, Heretics of Dune, Dune Messiah, Chapterhouse Dune, God Emperor of Dune, Children of Dune. It will always be at the bottom of the list for me. I can't. Even just the way it ends, like it reviles me. Anyway, it's time to watch the trailer. I don't know if anyone's going to watch this video, because I just kind of made this random decision that I was just going to kind of do a few off-the-cuff random videos about stuff. This is the first one, so you might have hated this. It's definitely different to what I normally do, but, you know, if you didn't, cool. Dune. Oh my God, sorry guys. The first thing that came up on YouTube was, it actually is for Tron Ares, but it was a picture of Jared Leto, and I was like, is Jared Leto in Dune 3? I will lose my mind. He's not. We're okay. All right, which account do I want? I want like an official account. I don't want all these repost ones. I want the official teaser trailer, Warner Brothers. That's the one. Oh. Sorry, guys. I knew it was gonna like, oh. Honestly, I still just think Denis Villeneuve is just one of the greatest directors. He is incredible when it comes to science fiction and when it comes to the type of science fiction that I love. Now, look, I love some optimistic sci-fi. I've raved about how joyful, you know, Project Hail Mary is, how, like I've said, The Martian is my comfort movie, absolutely. But when it comes to science fiction, I like things that make me feel otherworldly. I like when I can look at something and feel like I am in an entirely different place. It's entirely separate to everything that we know, and everything is so unique. Like, I love me some realistic sci-fi, but oh my God, like putting me into a world of like Alien, Blade Runner, The Matrix, just something that's so entirely different. And honestly, I just think Dune is one of the most epics. So something that still gets me right, like deep, 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 is Helm's Deep. Honestly, there's scenes that I will watch. I will rewatch Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, and I will skip to specific scenes. Like if I could just do a supercut of the scenes that get me every single time. And the first one was the hobbits running to the ferry being chased by the ring wraiths. No matter how many times I see that, I'm still scared that they're not going to make it. Like I know they make it, but it gets me right there. There's just certain imagery that just get me. In the second movie, it's Helm's Deep. As soon as the army is standing there, it feels so big, and that was so long ago. Anything that's like that, anything with really epic spaceships, like there was a few shots in that trailer just then of like some of the highliners. Oh, guys, seriously, really big just shots like that, really wide, spacious places that feel large and overpowering and overwhelming, just do something to me. I'm so excited. I went to see Dune 2 on my own at 11 a.m. the day it came out because I could not wait. I couldn't wait for someone to go with me. I didn't care. I was like, I'm in there. I'm gone. I'm not here anymore. So I'm so excited for this conclusion, and I think it's a perfect way to do it as well. I do think that finishing with Dune Messiah and leaving it there, I have some suspicion that potentially they might try to do like some spin-off shows and maybe do things like Children of Dune. I would hope that they wouldn't. Even the way that they've done Aaliyah's character, I think means that they probably would do Children of Dune differently, and I presume that that's how it was done with the James McAvoy one as well. I'd be pumped to see a series that was Heretics of Dune. I'd be pumped. Heretics of Dune and Chapterhouse as a series, I would watch them for sure. I don't know if any of us could handle God Emperor of Dune. I don't know if any of us are ready for that. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna go now.